Vember.
I feel like we don't have any time left after all of that, but thank you very much. I also suspect I haven't seen Mr. Buntum in years, and I missed most of his speech, all of his speech, due to work. I don't believe I've met Mr. King before. I certainly haven't met Mrs. Mary Louise Samuels before. My speech is going to do exactly the same thing. Although I'm going to do it. Although it's going to get a bit awkward because I have a different take on the dreams scenario. Mr. King, I also hail from Goeie Primary, for what it's worth, for any Goeie Primary people around here. It does scare me somewhat that I am stood here simply because the last time I was stood here, this was actually not here. The hall didn't exist during my time. We had our assemblies on cold concrete in the quad. It scares me even more the fact that most of you, if not all of you, hopefully all of you, had not actually started school when I attended Kasselsvlei, which is very scary because it means I'm getting old, and looking at some of my teachers as I walked in, I'm not the only one getting old. But I'd like to thank Mr. Bantam and the entire staff complement of Kasselsvlei for affording me this opportunity. It really is a great honor, and as I said to Mr. Wilson on my way in, I just don't understand why it took so long. I don't know what I did. No one ever asked me. But here I am tonight, and I'm very, very happy to be here. I'm going to ask a lot of questions of you, in particular the students here this evening. Most of the questions I won't have answers to, but it's questions that I'm hoping will stay with you for a very long time going forward, and it's questions that you will continue to ask yourselves as you continue to grow, as you go from grade to grade, as you eventually leave these corridors of Kasselsvlei High. And there are moments where I will ask a question and would ideally like a response, whether it's by show of hands or you verbally shouting something back at me. Hopefully not stop talking. So the first question, which, and by show of hands, are any of you excited about your future? I mean, I would hope that all of your hands go up, but it's okay. If all of your hands don't go up, it's okay. So that's a good start. The harder question is, who of you are scared about your future? Yeah, and they're giggles, but that is the real harder question, and well done to you for putting up your hands and acknowledging, because the future is scary. And I'm not here to chase you away or to turn you off anything, but I'm here mainly to talk to those of you who are scared. And whether you realize it or not, we're all scared. Deep down inside about what lies ahead. And if you're not scared, part of you kind of should be. Because in there lies the excitement about life and what life is and what life has to bring and what life has to do for you. Here's the next question. What are your dreams for yourself? Is anyone brave enough right now to stand up or sit and just shout out back at me? What do you dream for yourself? What do you want for yourself? Yes? He wants to win the Ballon d'Or. And I think that deserves a round of applause. Anyone else? Yes? You want to be a genetic engineer. Amazing, and we need more scientists. Is there anyone else who wants to add to that? You're more than welcome to. We have all night, apparently. So here's another level and another layer to add to winning the Ballon d'Or, to becoming a genetic engineer. Do your dreams scare you? Are they that huge in your mind, they're that big, that they frighten you? Yes. Now for those of you who didn't shout anything out, why is that the case? Is it the case because they are that huge and you don't know how you're going to achieve it? Or is it also partly because you don't believe that the person sitting next to you actually believes that you can achieve that, and so it's kind of embarrassing for you to say it out loud? Is there an element of that? I can tell you that when I sat in the quad, not in this hall, that didn't exist, I told one person that I can certainly recall in my class at the time that I wanted to be a radio DJ. And I only told one person because I'd never heard of anyone really who came from where we come from. I grew up in Glenhaven, by the way, who became a really successful, big, national profile radio DJ. And so this thought that you wanted to be this radio DJ presenter, this cool dude, it kind of would get laughs from people. And so for that reason, I largely kept it to myself, because no one wants to be laughed at. So I'll ask the question again. Is there anyone who is scared of their dreams, who won't say it out loud, but maybe now, this is the moment? Has anyone got the courage to stand up and go, this is what I want to do? And it's a safe space. I guarantee you we will chase anyone out who laughs at you. Anyone. There's a lot of rumbling. Yes, there's a hand. You want to be the best doctor. Here we go. What is your name, sir? Sorry? Abdurrahman. Will you come forward, please? There's another Kuyog boy, I'm told. Are you from Kuyog? Good man. And what grade are you in, Abdurrahman?
Grade 12.
Grade 12. Have you applied anywhere?
UCT.
UCT. Have you heard anything?
Still waiting.
Still waiting. He wants to be the best doctor. And there's no reason on this green earth, whether it happens next year that he starts the process, or in 10 years from now, that he cannot become the good doctor that he wants to be, the best doctor that he wants to be. My mother became Dr. Vember at the age of something like 55. Not a medical doctor, but a PhD, because she continued. So Abdurrahman, because you were brave enough to actually stand up and make yourself vulnerable, these are tickets to K-Day. They happen in March of next year. Yeah, and now? Anyone else? Yeah. And here's the beauty about making your voice heard in this kind of public space. When you open yourself up and you make yourself vulnerable and you put yourself out there, the world cannot ignore you and the world will not ignore you. I'm a big believer in karma, in putting things out there so you can then receive and it will then come back to you. Because when you put things out there, you set into motion a series of events that will conspire to set you on your desired path. When you verbalize things, when you speak things, part of the job is then done when you speak them into action. In the same way that you hurt people with your words, because your words can be that powerful, your words are equally powerful when you are actioning upon things, when you're setting out into the world and speaking your own truth. You know where I learned a lot of that from? Women. Which is a whole other story, and we certainly don't have time for that. But females know this, and you know this, mothers, sisters, aunts. And boys, you should ask your mothers, your sisters, your aunts, your girlfriends, your grandmothers. There's a reason there's Mother Nature and Mother Earth, and why they're referred to in the female form, because you must talk to them. They want you to talk to them all the time and tell them everything in your life. And so I kind of treat the world in the same vein. You must talk to it. You must let it know exactly what you want, because how will it know what to send back to you? How will it know? If you don't make it clear that this is what you want, how will it know? And it's okay if at this point you don't know. That too is okay. But then say so. Because at some point, I guarantee you, avenues will open up. The more you share your feelings, your wants, your aspirations, your desires, the more that path will be created for you. And with apologies to Mr. King, who took his time to break down the word dreams, I deliberately used it, as I'm sure Mr. King did, because I figured that's going to be the easiest way for you to understand the questions that I was asking. What are your dreams? Everyone understands what you mean when you ask that question. However, and again, Mr. King, this is where it gets very awkward, I'm going to ask you to take that word out of your lexicon. Put it somewhere in the back of your memory box. I would like for you to stop referring to it as your dreams and use another word. I'd like for you to refer to it as your vision. What are your views? What is your vision for yourself? Where do you see yourself? How do you see yourself? Now, some people may just dismiss this as plain semantics. It's word scrabble, it's simple synonyms. I would like to suggest differently because I believe differently. Words have always been important to me. Like in Mrs. Van Harten's class at the back there, somewhere between grades 10 and 12. I forget what the specific grade was. She deducted 3 marks from an English assignment I did. It was an otherwise flawless assignment on John Milton's On His Blindness, the sonnet. She deducted 3 marks because I incorrectly spelt one word. I misspelt one word. And the beauty of it is, it wasn't even the word that was, I mean, it was stupid. Thinking back now, I would never have put it in there because it was really just daft. It had no bearing on the rest of the assignment, but she deducted 3 marks. Thankfully, I had Mr. Koopman to back me up, and I got my 30 out of 30 before I left. Vision. So the thoughts of the word dream has the ability to lull us into inactivity, right? It has the ability to evoke nothing. It becomes this far out spacey thing. Because in the same way you have a dream at night, and your dream is whatever it was, most times you wake up in the morning, you can barely remember half the dream. It's kind of this fuzzy, marshmallowy thing. So I'm suggesting that we need words to spur us into action. So again, what is your vision for yourself? And once you realize that, you can, and in fact you must, this is non-negotiable, you must make a constant effort to work towards it. It's incumbent upon you. Once you see it, you must go with all that you have. You must vigorously pursue that vision. You must vigorously pursue winning the Ballon d'Or, becoming the best medical doctor there is. Geneticist, what was it? Engineer. Winning the lotto is a dream. We all have that dream. There's nothing you can do to vigorously pursue it besides spending all the money you don't have on buying tickets. Life demands of you to move forward, to take conscious steps towards what it is that you want to be. And just like John Milton, who lost his sight and believed that he was derailed from his vision both literally and figuratively, still got it, 30 out of 30. Life will test you. Life will throw everything your way to test you. And like John Milton, you will be filled with all the self-doubt. But always remember, whether you're a Christian, Muslim, atheist, a Jew, whether you have a belief system, whether you don't have a belief system, no task is insurmountable. If I've learned nothing else to this point, in my life, it's the fact that you're never tested beyond what you can handle. You will never be tested beyond what the universe believes you can handle. Another big point is for you to never fear failure. Don't fear failure. If you're not prepared to fail, then you're not prepared to learn. Because you can only fail if you have tried. If nothing else, failure is at very least an indication that you dared to learn, that you had the audacity to try. And please, parents, I'm not referring here to failing a maths exam or an English exam, so don't get me at the door. Those are the easy things. The maths exam, the English exam, your world comes to an end now when you fail that exam. But that's the easy part. This is all the easy part. I'm talking about the challenges that life will put before you. Whether it's love, whether it's relationships, whether it's your personal or professional relationships, in your workplace when you get there one day, in your communities, in your places of worship. Those challenges are not insurmountable. The key is to rise above. Always rise above, to elevate yourself, to walk into a room and a space and own it. So often, and this was a big thing for me when I left here and went to university, which was largely white. It was largely Model C schools, former Model C schools, private school kids who spoke much better English than I did, who carried themselves with a lot more confidence than I did, and I was already not lacking, as Mrs. Solomons or Mrs. Van Harten will tell you, in confidence. But they had the ability to walk into a space and feel comfortable. And often I see how kids who come from where you and I come from, it's all here. Just even your body language. I have terrible posture because I was a fat kid and I still am. But it's all in the body language. When you leave the school one day and you walk into a place of work to ask for an internship, to ask for a job, whatever the case is, 9 out of 10 times, the person who you're approaching has no idea who you are. So fake it until you make it, because then you'll start believing it. You'll start believing in yourself. There's no reason that you should be slouching, that you shouldn't have your shoulders back and your eyes beaming and look someone square in the face and give them a proper handshake. There's no reason why that shouldn't happen. And the best way to avoid, or at least to navigate around or even through failure, is to plan. It's about going back to that vision. What steps can you take to achieve the vision? And at this stage of your life, it may just be baby steps. Because, as I said, you may not know just yet what that vision is. But it's all about creating the momentum. There's something exhilarating, and don't get me wrong, I've never quite been a completely carefree and careless person. But I know there are people who are carefree and go through life and don't care, and whatever must happen, must happen. And there's something to be said for that, but also then be prepared for the erratic responses that life will then throw back at you. Because you've had no intention but to take life as it comes. Then you cannot be surprised when life goes, cool, okay, kom, vat hom. And don't lose that focus. Don't get distracted, because guaranteed you will lose the odd battle. It's guaranteed. But remember, you're fighting war. This is long term. Think test match cricket, not T20. I was going to use a Springbok analogy, but I don't think there are any more Bok fans around, so I shall not. We are in it for the long haul. We're in it to win it, and I've been lucky enough to attend university alongside some of the brightest people around right now. The former editor of the Mail and Guardian, Varashni Pillay, who's just become the editor of the Huffington Post in South Africa. We were at varsity at the same time studying journalism. There's another brilliant young entrepreneur who's already sold a business and has now started a sock business, of all things. But he's doing amazingly well. His name is Nick Haralambis. And he put it quite succinctly. You have to plan in decades. So it's not about instant gratification. See the vision, but let the vision be in decades, in a number of years. You cannot expect it tomorrow. So plan in decades, think in years, work in months, and live in days. Plan in decades, think in years, work in months, and live in days. One of the hardest things to do is to be accountable. And it comes back to again, we'll go back to the dream, and the R, and accepting responsibility, to be accountable for your actions. You will then be able to reap the rewards and stand up and claim it like it's your own and go, that is mine because I worked for it. But at the same time, when those failures come along, you have to own it. Because when you own the one, you can own the other. I work in a space where a couple of 100,000 people listen to me 6 days out of 7 in the week. And it's all about today, this, and about instant feedback. And people sometimes, most times during the course of my job, don't realize that there's a person sitting on the other side, because to them, you're just a voice. And people say the most hateful things on a daily basis. But I refuse to let it get me down, because if I'm going to accept the love, which we also do get, you're amazing, thanks so much, you're so funny, which is great. It is lovely to hear that. But I cannot take that with as much excitement if I'm not prepared to accept the criticism with as much excitement. It's about being measured, being realistic about life. And the minute you start blaming others, the minute you start blaming your circumstances, you surrender control. The minute you blame anyone else, you're going, I'm not in control. Because you're telling that other person that they have the power to affect you. You're telling them that you're just a puppet on their string, and you can pull my strings and I'm going to get annoyed, and I'm going to get annoyed, and I'm going to get upset. It boils down to being your own person. Be the individual. And I guarantee you, right now, as you sit here in your green and gray and white, it feels like you're part of something, and some days you just want to bust out and not be part of something or this particular thing. One day when you leave here, you're going to discover who you really are if you haven't yet. And that will be one of the most fulfilling experiences, to be able to go out into a space and really discover, who am I? What am I about? What do I stand for? To be able to proudly say, I'm gay, if that's the case. I'm lesbian. I'm a transgender man, I'm a transgender woman, whatever the case is, that day will come. And if you're already able to recognize that today and have the comfortable space to own that, if that space has been provided by your family and by your friends, then you are even more powerful than you can ever imagine. So you need to plan, you need to focus, you need to be accountable, and you need to be an individual. Another question, and probably the more important question, is who do you want to be? Not what do you want to be, who? What kind of person do you want to be? The beauty about this question is you can answer it right here, right now, because you can decide right now, I want to be a good person. That doesn't take any amount of engineering or schooling or talking to. You can decide right now. That process you can start right here today. Because ultimately, after all is said and done, who you choose to be is how you will be remembered. So you can have the Ballon d'Or winner, and somewhere, some 100 years from now, it will be written somewhere on Wikipedia or some form of it that I was a Ballon d'Or winner. But there are more chances that people will remember you by how you made them feel. Maya Angelou said a million times, people will forget what you said. People will forget what you did. People will never forget how you made them feel. And my challenge to you is to always strive to leave people feeling better than the way you found them. And I know that this is particularly hard when we are challenged or confronted or when we are so easily offended, and boy, we can be easily offended. But the task becomes easier when you choose to listen. It really is a skill that we struggle with. I often tell my colleagues at work that the label of the listener, people who consume the medium of radio, who choose to listen to us every day, is the most ironic thing because they just don't listen. You get accused of the most. We got a call, and I'm proud to say for the second time in my career, last week from the presidency. The president was in town, he was in parliament, answering questions, and his spokesperson, I like to think that he was somewhere in the back on the M3 in his blue light brigade listening to my show, I don't know. But the actual spokesman for the president called to complain about something he thought we said. The president's name was mentioned, but what he heard was completely different to what was actually said. People just don't listen. And it is a skill that you need to harness, that you need to work on. And you especially need to listen to people with whom you differ. Especially. Because it's very easy to get yes men and yes women, to get people who agree with everything you say. It's about listening to people who don't agree with you, because I guarantee you that is where you learn and that is where you grow. And that's how you change your mindset. So don't be so quick to take offense and to let other people upset you. The former First Lady and diplomat of the United States of America, Eleanor Roosevelt, said, "No one can make you feel inferior without your consent." And it's all about giving someone that power. It's about letting someone feel that they have the right to take something away from you that is not theirs because it's yours and it's yours alone. Treat people with respect because you teach people how to treat you. If you allow yourself to be abused, they will continue to abuse you. If you allow yourself to be used, they will continue to use you. If you are the transgressor, then you welcome that behavior into your life. And even when you are wronged in those moments when you are deeply hurt by someone's words or actions, before you react, take a moment. Take a breath, take a second, and try and put yourself in their shoes. Because even if just for a split second you try to understand them, or at very least make the attempt, and this goes for any situation in life regardless of the magnitude. Because I truly believe that the opposite of good is not bad when it comes to human beings. I think you'll find that if people are not good, they are broken. Not bad. If people are not good, they are broken. So if you give yourself a moment to try and understand why it is that they are the way they are, you will be showing empathy. You will show an understanding that you can relate to them on some level. And that's no excuse for them to treat you badly, but it does give you the opportunity to display empathy. So I said at the start that I would have a lot of questions, and probably more questions than answers, and that's okay, because I'm hoping that if nothing else, I leave you with those questions that a lot of you are still very young, but they're questions that somewhere should be engraved in the back of your head as you traverse through life, wondering, what the hell am I doing here? Because you'll have those moments a lot. And I'd be lying if I said that I was standing here having it all figured out. I have no clue, maybe a little clue. But I have no idea for my own life what is next. My vision, by the way, as I mentioned to you at the start, I wanted to be in radio. What I then did was I went and I searched for the institution who produced, in my view, some of the best radio broadcasters and media people in the country, and that's where I went. And from there, my mission was to get onto 5FM. And within a year after coming to Heart, that's where I went. And from there, my mission was to get onto a primetime show. After 6 years or whatever the case was in Joburg, I came back here and I started the afternoon show on KFM. So you have to have that vision and you have to work towards it. That being said, right now, I don't know what's next for myself. I don't know where I'm going to end up or what it is that I'm going to do. And that is scary, but therein lies the excitement. Because if you don't have that burning sensation, the same feeling you have when you go onto a field to play cricket or soccer or rugby or whatever the case is, what are you doing? What are you living for? What is there that you are looking forward to? So the fear is good. It's about harnessing that fear and turning it into energy that is positive. That almost sounded like physics, which I did not do very well at the school. But you get the point, I hope. So again, as I end, I'd like to say thank you to Mr. Bantam for allowing me to come into this space. I hope I've left you with something to think about. And the only thing I would say is, don't dream it, do it. Don't let the dream become some fluffy thing that just lives somewhere else in a journal, in the whispers with a close friend. Don't dream it, do it. Thank you very much.